Hey everybody, we're going to start in just a couple of minutes. Hey everybody, so it is Sunday night. I hope everybody had a really good weekend. I know some of you have holidays and maybe you haven't been moving a lot, so let's just take it easy. We're going to start seated, crossing our legs, sitting up tall. Take a moment here to connect to your breath. And with that, we want to try to slow down on the inhale, lengthen out those exhales. Through a quick flow today. Nothing too challenging, but lots of movement. Still, we want to pay attention to our alignment and focus on our breath. Let's start by turning the head to one side, taking the chin as close to as you can. Good, other side. And again. And switch sides. Good, let's draw half circles down from shoulder to shoulder. Nice. Taking your time here, move at your own pace. Good. Let's even out those hips now. We're going to take the opposite leg forward. So it's going to feel awkward, but that's okay. From here, we're going to go into a side bend. So pick a side. You can go either your palm or your full forearm down onto the mat, and opposite arm reaches up and over. We want to press through that bottom hand or arm and really press these ribs up here so that we can get really long through the side of the body that we're opening up. And we don't want to stay closed here through the chest. We want to open up as much as possible. Get wide through the chest, open through the heart, gazing up if we can. Good. Still breathing. Over to the other side, palm or full forearm down. Opposite arm reaches up and over. Reach, reach, reach through that hand. Good. And again, we stay open. We gaze up if we can. Good. Returning to seated. Take that opposite hand. Bring it to your knee and twist. Gazing back over the shoulder. Keep that back hand close to your body so you can use it to help press you up taller. We want to get really, really long through the back and neck here. On each inhale, getting taller. On each exhale, twisting a little bit deeper. And it's not a big movement, it's very subtle. But as you inhale, we lengthen. As you exhale, we twist. On your next inhale, returning to center. Exhale, twisting to the opposite side. Again, keeping that back hand close to the body to help us sit up tall. Good. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, settle into that twist. Keep with the steady breathing here. Thinking about our alignment, getting tall, and deepening the twist. Good. On your next inhale, we return to center. If you have a dog in your lap, move it aside. And we're going to make our way to a tabletop position, lining yourself up, knees under hips, wrists under shoulders. Good. Toes are pointing straight back and not in towards each other. We're going to exhale, round out the back, bowing the head to cat pose. Inhale, dip the belly. Stretch those abdominals in cow pose. Continue moving through cat-cow as you flow through your breath. And allow some freedom of movement here. If you feel like you want to wiggle a little bit from side to side, if you want to hold one of these poses longer than the other, feel free to do so, even maybe drawing circles with your navel. Take this time to warm up the spine, stretch the abdominals. See if there's anything that feels like it needs a little bit of an extra stretch. Good. Let's bring those forearms down to the mat. Keeping our hands, our arms parallel to each other. Curl the toes under. We're going to lift the knees to a dolphin pose. Get strong through the shoulders. Your heels do not have to touch down here. That depends entirely on the flexibility in the back of your legs or just how they're feeling today. Deep breaths. Strong through the shoulders. Good. Let's summon as much strength as we can. We're going to press through the hands and straighten the arms to downward facing dog. Good. Pressing through the hands, press the front of the mat away from you. Send that tailbone up high. Reach your heart back towards your knees. Still breathing. We're going to step that right leg forward and come up to a warrior one pose. Good. Reach those arms up. Keep that chest and the shoulders squared off to the short edge of your mat. Good. Let's open up to a warrior two. Maybe you widen your stance. Excellent. So warrior two, we don't want to lean forward. We don't want to lean back here. We want to stay stacked above our hips, and our hips should be level with each other. And that means that we're not leaning our hips one way or the other. We're finding this nice, comfortable position where we're just sinking down into the pose here. And then we engage through the legs. Good. Tightening up through the core. That front knee is sent directly over that front ankle in line with the toes so it's not turning in. We stay open and we bring our arms parallel to the mat. If you find you're leaning, if you find your hips aren't even with each other, maybe you need to widen your stance or maybe you need to bring it in. Let's take a moment just to check your alignment here as we hold this warrior two pose. Really, really challenging to hold this pose for a long time, but what we want to do is deepen our breath here. And give our muscles a little challenge. On your next inhale, we're going to reverse that warrior. Good. Gazing up towards that hand. We're still engaging through the legs. We're still tight through the core. Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. Tightening up everything from our pelvic floor up to keep us stable and strong in this position. Strong warriors. Let's go to an extended side angle. Good. Now making sure here that we're not putting all of our weight into that front leg. We should only be resting lightly in this position. We're not relying on that front leg to hold us here. Still using some strength. Good, let's reverse one more time. Inhale, strong legs. Good, straighten the front leg, and we move to a triangle pose. You can hold on to the leg or place your palm down on the mat. We open up, draw that hand up. If we can, we gaze up towards the hand or gazing forward. Avoid gazing down if you can. But if you're dizzy, if you have vertigo, then either avoid this pose or feel free to gaze down if that helps. We're going to lower to a runner's lunge. So we rotate that back foot to face the front foot, bending through that front knee, lowering the hips. Good. Try to find that straight line from your shoulders down to the back ankle. Again, we're not leaning all of our weight onto that front leg. You can use your hands to help prop you up here. We're keeping the chest lifted and we're gazing forward. Good. Let's lower that back knee, raise the arms up in a low lunge. Exhale, bring the hands down. Curl the back toes under, send it back to plank. Good. Lower all the way to your belly or float in chaturanga to cobra or upward facing dog on the inhale. Downward facing dog. Take a breath. Good. Step your left foot through, coming up to warrior one. We're strong here. We're not just engaging that front leg. That back glute is really firing up. Back glute sounds kind of weird because our glutes aren't front and back. They're side by side. But the leg that's back, so your right leg, your right glute is fired up here. Good. Opening up to warrior two. Check your alignment. Taking the time to settle into these poses. Often in transition is where we lose our alignment, is where we cause injury. So we want to take our time in our transitions between poses to make sure that we're properly lined up before we settle into hold. Good, we're squeezing those legs, we're squeezing that pelvic floor, the core is engaged, navel drawn in and up. Deep breathing as we hold here, strong warriors. Our drishti follows that front hand. Reverse that warrior. Opening up the heart here. Small back bend. Staying long. Finding that continuous curve through the spine, through the neck. No sharp corners. To extended side angle. We're not relying on that front leg. We're gently resting. Staying strong in the legs. We can do this. Deepen your breath. Reverse. Let's straighten that front leg, moving to triangle pose. To a runner's lunge, we rotate that back foot forward. Excellent. We're resting all of our weight down on that front leg. We're sinking the hips, we're raising the heart. Think about getting long through the body here. Good, let's lower the knee, top of the foot. Inhale, arms up in low lunge. Exhale, sink into the hips. Good, lowering the hands, we raise the back knee, step it back to plank. Good, float all the way down to your belly or chaturanga. Flow to cobra or upward facing dog. To downward facing dog. Deepen your breath. Let's raise our right leg to three-legged dog. Bending that right knee, we open up our hips to the right side. Okay, let's draw that right knee forward, coming to a pigeon pose or a pigeon prep, if you prefer to call it that. Keeping our hips squared off to the mat. The front of that left leg is down on the mat, toes pointing straight back. Good. You can stay upright here if you want to work a little bit on a back bend. If you want to open up the hips a little more, you can lower the body, folding over that front leg. Taking a few breaths in this position. Let's see if we can bend that left leg at the knee, raising the foot. You can keep it flexed or you can point the toes. If you bring your right hand to the inside of that right leg, maybe you can reach your left hand back and grab the foot and draw it in here for a bit more of a quad stretch. Be really careful with the knee. If you feel any kind of uncomfortable pull here, don't do this, hold back. But if you feel okay, you can draw that foot in for a nice little quad stretch if you are feeling really tight there. Good, release if you're holding on to that back foot. Plant the palms, curl the toes under, step it back to downward facing dog. Good. This time we're gonna raise the left leg to three-legged dog. Bend the knee, opening up the hips to the left side. Draw that knee forward to pigeon. We're going to play around here a little bit, just like we did on the other side. So take your time getting into position, squaring your hips off to the mat, which means we're not leaning to one side or the other. And typically what would happen here is you might collapse over onto the left side. So we want to avoid that. Making sure that that right leg is connected down, toes are pointing straight back. Again, we can stay up right here or get long through the back and neck before we fold over that front leg. Good. Now we can play with that back leg if we want to. We can bend the knee, raising the foot. Maybe we do it a few times, or maybe right away we go into that twist, reaching the right hand back to grab onto the foot. Drawing it in as much as we like, as much as our body is telling us to. Good, let's release. And we're just gonna press back to a tabletop position. And from here, make your way to seated in a wide angle. So we're gonna send both legs out as wide as we can. Take the time to shift your hips until you're comfortable here. We're gonna sit up tall, lifting through the chest. Position your hands down ahead of you, and with a flat back, we're gonna start to walk those hands forward and fold a little bit. So your feet can stay flexed here, or you can point them, that's up to you. As soon as you feel enough resistance, you feel like it's a good enough stretch for you and where you're at, you wanna stop and hold and deepen your breath. If you can lower all the way down to your forearms, feel free to do that as well. We wanna try to keep that back as flat as possible for as long as possible. Good. If you want to hold on to your big toes and draw that chest down, we can do that too. Good. Coming back up to seated. Let's take our right leg in. We're just going to bend it, hugging it in towards our chest. Our left leg is out. Taking your left hand, grab that foot. Right arm is going to reach up and over. So this is a starting point that I'm going to scooch over here, that maybe your right hand can reach the left foot. And if you can, take that left hand and reach for the ankle. And then from here, you can twist yourself a little bit deeper, opening up towards the ceiling. So be really, really careful if this is the first time you try this. It's a little bit more advanced, but it's something to work towards, and it feels so good. We deepen our breath as much as we can here, but often when we're holding a twist, that's a little challenging. So we just try to keep our breath as controlled as possible in that case. Good, coming out of that fold. Let's do that on the other side. We're gonna extend the right leg, pull the left leg in. Right hand reaches for the right foot. Maybe you flip your grip here. Left arm is gonna reach up and over. That's your starting point. If your left hand can reach the right toes, right hand is gonna go to that opposite ankle. And we twist and open. So obviously take your time here if you want to modify with any simple seated side bend. Go right ahead. We started with a seated side bend. This is getting a little bit deeper, adding that twist element, which we also did at the beginning of our practice. Good. Revolved head to knee. There's a lot of variations. This is my favorite with the bent leg over here. Coming back up to seated. We're going to take the soles of the feet together to a butterfly stretch, cobbler pose, seated bound angle pose, whatever you want to call it. Holding onto the feet or the ankles, we're going to engage the outer edges of our legs to draw the knees down towards the mat. Good. Taking those knees together, I'm going to turn to face the short edge of my mat here and come all the way down onto my back. So with my knees bent, I'm going to take my right foot, grab onto that big toe and stretch it up, trying to straighten out that right leg as much as possible. If I want to use the other hand to help draw it in further, I can do that too. Then taking that right leg, we're going to cross it over the left, pick up the left leg and pull it in towards you to a reclined pigeon pose. Okay, let's switch out our legs. We're going to drop that right foot down. Grab onto the left big toe and straighten that leg up as much as we can. If the knee is bent, that's okay. Good. Cross that foot over the right leg. Pull the right leg in towards you. Good. Hugging both knees in now towards your chest. We're going to start to rock the body, making our way up to seated. Maybe we roll a few times, engaging the core. Maybe it's a little massage for your back. Maybe it hurts if you're on a really hard floor and your mat's a little thin, you can just sit up. If your mat's a little thicker or you feel comfortable here, you can roll a little bit, front to back. Bring all the way up to seated this time. Cross those legs. Let's rest our hands on our knees or in our lap. We're going to take a few deep breaths to finish up. Taking a moment maybe here to think about the week ahead. Maybe there's something you're looking forward to, maybe there isn't. Either way, we want to think about 3 good things that are coming up this week. And if we can't think of any, maybe think of 3 goals that you can set for yourself for this week. It could be something as simple as going for a walk 3 days this week, or it could be to drink a little bit more water. Maybe it's to get enough sleep. Maybe there's a book you've been meaning to read and you haven't been making time for it. Let's take a moment to just think about a few things that we're looking forward to or that we can look forward to and set some intentions for the week ahead. And before I finish up, I always like to end with 3 really, really deep breaths. And that's always something I do in my personal practice. So I want to do that with you right now. We're going to take a really, really deep inhale, and then we're going to let as much air out as we possibly can, doing that 3 times. Let's go. As always, thank you for practicing with me. Bye.